Lesson 2-4, writing linear equations. This is actually the second video for Lesson 2-4. In the first video, we learned how to write linear equations using point-slope form and slope-intercept form. And today we're going to write equations for lines that are parallel or perpendicular to a given line. So in review, here's point-slope form and slope-intercept form in case you need to look back. Also, we need to remember that parallel lines have the same slope and perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So if I make up some slopes for these lines here, let's say these lines both have the same slope of 4/3. And in order for lines to be perpendicular, one has to be positive, like maybe this first one is positive 2/3. The other one has to be negative, and it also has to be the reciprocal. So negative 3/2 is a perpendicular slope to 2/3. Okay, so here's a word problem. As a salesperson, Eric is paid a daily salary plus commission. When his sales are $1,000, he makes $100. When his sales are $1,400, he makes $120. Write a linear equation to model this situation. Commission basically means you make a certain percentage of your sales. So here we have to maybe figure out what X and Y are going to represent, and then we can write a linear equation. I would say that his commission depends on his sales, so I think our X value has to be the sales, and then the commission that he makes would be our Y values here. So if I create two ordered pairs, the first one could be $1,000, where X is his sales, comma 100, where the Y value here is how much he makes. And then another ordered pair would be for the second situation. If he sells $1,400 worth, then he makes 120. So the X value again is his sale, and the Y value is his commission. Okay, so we do have two ordered pairs here. If I want to write a linear equation, I need to find the slope. So let's use the slope formula. The slope is the difference of the Y values, so 120 minus 100 over the difference in the X values, 1,400 minus 1,000. So 120 minus 100 gives me 20. 1,400 minus 1,000 gives me 400. And the slope here is 1/20. All right, and I'm going to leave it as a fraction, 1/20. Okay, so there's our slope now. I'm going to use this slope m, and I'm going to choose this first point here, 1,100, just because it seems easy to work with. And I'm going to plug these values into the point slope form. So that equation is y minus my y value, which is 100, equals the slope, 1/20, times in parentheses, x minus my x value, which is 1,000. Okay, now same steps we were doing last time, distribute. You get 1/20 x minus 50. And then over on the left side, we still have y minus 100. And then finally, my last step here is going to be adding on 100 to each side. Those cancel. And when I add 100 onto minus 50, I get positive 50. So my equation is y equals 1/20 x plus 50. Okay, so there's our linear equation. I've got it in slope-intercept form. So if I wanted to graph this one, I would have a y-intercept of 50, basically meaning if he has $0 in sales, he gets $50. And then my slope would be 1/20. Okay, so now the next question is, how much would Eric make in a day if his sales were $2,000? Well, remember, X represents the amount of sales. So I would plug in 2,000 for X into my equation. So 1/20 of 2,000 plus 50, and that gives us $150. And it makes sense. If he sells $2,000 worth, he makes $150. Example 2, we're going to write an equation for the line that passes through the point 3,7 and is parallel to the line that has the equation y equals negative 4x minus 5. So the first thing that I want to recognize is that we want a parallel line, which means it has to have the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope. So you want to identify the slope for the equation that you're going to write. Now, if I look at the line that I'm given, the slope is negative 4/3. You can easily find the slope by looking for the number that's multiplied by x. So negative 4/3 is the slope, and because I want a parallel line, I'm going to use that same number, the same slope, negative 4/3. My ordered pair, my point is 3,7, and so now I've got all the information I need to write an equation. Using point slope form, I'm going to set it up y minus 7 equals negative 4/3 times x minus 3, and follow the same process, distributing and then solve for y. So we get y minus 7 equals negative 4/3 times x, and then you're taking negative 4/3 times a minus 3. That negative and negative here will cancel each other out and you'll get positive 4, and then let's add on 7. Okay, so my equation is in slope-intercept form, y equals negative 4/3 x plus 11. Now this line, if I were to graph it, it should be parallel to the equation that we were given, and they are because they have the same slope. Also, this line should go through the point 3,7, and we're guaranteed that it does because I used 3 and 7 in my formula. Example 3. This time we're going to write an equation for the line that is perpendicular to the given line. So I've got the ordered pair negative 4,3. That's going to be my point. But the trick is to figure out what slope we're going to use. Okay, so if I want a perpendicular line, the slope of this given line is negative 4, but perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So for my slope, for the equation that I'm going to write, I need to change it up here. It's negative 4. You can think of it as negative 4 over 1. So the reciprocal, the opposite reciprocal is positive 1 over 4. So the slope I want to use is positive 1 over 4. I don't really need this equation for anything else other than to pick out the slope that I'm going to use. Okay, that's all it's good for, is finding the slope. Now, my point is negative 4,3. My m, or my slope value, is 1/4. Now I can use the point slope formula. Y minus 3 equals the slope 1/4 times, in parentheses, x minus negative 4, which of course we know changes into x plus 4. The two negatives will become a positive. Okay, same procedure here. Let's distribute the 1/4. So 1/4 times x is 1/4 x, plus 1/4 times 4 is 1. And then finally we'll solve for y by adding 3. And my equation is y equals 1/4 x plus 4. Okay, now again, these two lines have to be perpendicular. Look at their slopes, negative 4 and 1/4. They're opposite reciprocals. And because I use the point negative 4,3, I know that this equation, when you graph it, has to pass through that ordered pair. Okay, now it's time for you to try one on your own. Please follow the last example. You're again writing a line that's perpendicular. So look at the last example for help.